Hello everybody, I'm your host Woody, and today we're going to be taking a look at the top 10 terrifying creatures that the Bible tried to warn us about. From the terrifying and bizarre to something you probably see all the time, let's get into it. Number 10, the first beast. Let's open up the first point of this list with, of course, the first beast. The first beast is one of two creatures that are described in the book of Revelation, saying to appear one after the other. So let's go over how this beast is explained in the book. And I stood upon the sand of the sea, and saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon his horns 10 crowns, and upon his heads the name of blasphemy. And the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard, and his feet were as the feet of a bear, and his mouth as the mouth of a lion. And the dragon gave him his power, and his seat, and great authority. So yeah, pretty damn crazy. Each head is supposed to represent a king, hence the crowns, thought to maybe be a representation of Roman emperors, and the first beast was said to be a king itself, but it was cast into perdition before it ever had a chance to rule. Number 9, the second beast. Now second on this list, we're obviously going to move on to the second beast, which arrives after the first, of course. This one doesn't get a description as long and detailed as the first, but is described as follows. Then I saw another beast rising out of the earth. It had 2 horns like a lamb, and it spoke like a dragon. It's also said to have incredible powers, and it performed great signs, even causing fire to come down from heaven to the earth in full view of the people. It's most known, however, for its creation of the mark of the beast. This is a sign that is used to identify people who follow the beast of the sea, usually seen as the Antichrist. So the second beast would mark humans with this symbol and direct them to follow after the first beast, and for this it is also described as being the false prophet, the two said to have been sent by Satan to take control and deceive people. Number 8, pit locusts. This next creature is not one single creature, but is instead a terrifying prediction for those of us who aren't fans of creepy crawlies. The Bible describes 10 different plagues, one of these being 5 months of torment caused by pit locusts. And here's how the Bible describes them. Then from the smoke came locusts on the earth, and they were given power like the power of scorpions of the earth. They were allowed to torment them for 5 months, but not to kill them, and their torment was like the torment of a scorpion when it stings someone. In appearance, the locusts were like horses prepared for battle. On their heads were what looked like crowns of gold. Their faces were like human faces. Definitely not something you would want to run into while out on a hike. The scariest part of this is that it's actually pretty likely to happen. In 2016, enough locusts to cover 270,000 square miles invaded Russia. Number 7, cherubim. The cherub that you're probably imagining is likely a fat little baby spitting water into a fountain, but cherubs in the Bible were actually pretty different, being described as otherworldly beings with 4 faces that emerge from smoke and fire. Here's a snippet of how they are explained in Ezekiel. They had a human likeness, but each had 4 faces, and each of them had 4 wings. Their legs were straight, and the soles of their feet were like the sole of a calf's foot, and they sparkled like burnished bronze. Under their wings on their 4 sides they had human hands, and the 4 had their faces and their wings thus. Their wings touched one another. Each of them went straight forward without turning as they went. They appear in the Bible over 90 times and are said to be God's throne bearers and his attendants, representing God's spirit on earth and symbolizing his worship. Number 6, Behemoth. According to the book of Job, sometimes referred to as simply Job, the behemoth was God's first ever creation. Supposedly a giant creature with tremendous power, it's described as follows. Behold Behemoth, which I made as I made you. He eats grass like an ox. Behold his strength in his loins, and his power in the muscles of his belly. He makes his tail stiff like a cedar. The sinews of his thighs are knit together. His bones are tubes of bronze, his limbs like bars of iron. It is said to be a primeval monster of chaos being defeated by Yahweh at the beginning of the process of creation, and according to a later Jewish tradition, it was said that the behemoth would become food for the righteous at the end time. Some historians believe that the behemoth may have been an early exaggerated description of an elephant or hippopotamus. Number 5, Leviathan. No, it's not just a roller coaster at Canada's Wonderland. The Leviathan is a creature that goes hand in hand with the behemoth. The Leviathan Leviathan was a sea monster with multiple heads that was mainly featured in the Old Testament, and just like the Behemoth is said to be a beast of chaos and is also said to be killed by God. One excerpt saying, "In that day the Lord will take his sharp, great, and mighty sword, and bring judgment on Leviathan the fleeing serpent, Leviathan the coiling serpent, and he will slay the dragon of the sea." The Leviathan is probably the beginning of many sea monster stories that would come about as humans started to take to the water and explore the oceans. Famous ones include Sir Humphrey Gilbert's description of a sea creature with the head of a lion, the legendary Kraken, and the one we all know, the Loch Ness Monster. Number 4. Giants. Giants aren't just found hiding up beanstalks, and they are described many times within the pages of the Bible. One of the most famous probably being Goliath, who is slain by David. Samuel saying, "And there came out from the camp of the Philistines a champion named Goliath of Gath, whose height was 6 cubits and a span. He had a helmet of bronze on his head, and he was armed with a coat of mail, and the weight of the coast was 5,000 shekels of bronze." There is in fact a whole race of giants mentioned who are called the Amorites, being brought up more than 80 times. "Yet it was I who destroyed the Amorite before them, whose height was like the height of the cedars, and he was as strong as the oaks. Yet I destroyed his fruit above and his roots beneath. Also it was I who brought you up from the land of Egypt, and led you 40 years through the wilderness, to possess the land of the Amorite." If they were truly as tall as cedars, that would put them at around 50 to 100 feet tall. Number 3. Werewolves. I'll be clear here, the Bible does not ever refer to werewolves by name, but it does have plenty of imagery and stories that lend themselves to our current understanding of the creature. In the book of Daniel, we see God curse a man into becoming an animal, one of the most significant references to lycanthropy and transformation within the Bible. It says, "You shall be driven from men, and your dwelling will be with the beasts of the field, and you will eat grass as oxen, and will be wet with the dew of heaven. And 7 years will pass over you, till you know that the Most High rules the kingdom of men, and gives it to whoever he will." Werewolves have also been mentioned in times coming even before Christianity. This excerpt comes from a book written in the year 440 BCE. It may be that these people are wizards, for the Scythians and the Greeks settled in Scythia say that once a year every one of the Nuri becomes a wolf for a few days and changes back again to his former shape. Those who tell this tale do not convince me, but they tell it nonetheless and swear to its truth. Number 2. Daniel's 4 beasts. This next one is not one beast, but actually 4. In the book of Daniel, the prophet has a vision of 4 different beasts representing 4 empires. They all emerge from the sea, wreaking terror and destruction. But like many of the creatures before them, they die during their time on earth. They are described as follows. "And 4 great beasts came up out of the sea, different from one another. The first was like a lion and had eagle's wings. Then as I looked, its wings were plucked off, and it was lifted up from the ground and made to stand on 2 feet like a man, and the mind of a man was given to it. And behold, another beast, a second one like a bear. It was raised up on one side. It had 3 ribs in its mouth between its teeth, and it was told, 'Arise, devour much flesh.' And devour flesh they certainly did. The 4th beast is said to be the one that would devour the entire earth." Number 1. Unicorns. You probably don't think of unicorns as anything scary, just some fantastical horse with a horn on its head, but unicorns in the Bible are actually pretty terrifying. Similarly to werewolves, the unicorn isn't actually called by that name in the Bible, but the description has led most people to believe that that's what it is, and future translations do include the word unicorn. The quote goes as follows: "It's said to have the body of a bull and a single horn that is similar to an ox. Deuteronomy saying, 'A firstborn bull, he has majesty, and his horns are the horns of a wild ox. With them he shall gore the peoples, all of them, to the ends of the earth. They are the 10,000s of Ephraim, and they are the thousands of Manasseh.'" So yeah, these guys were actually pretty mean. Their horn is not used for spreading the magic of friendship, but instead used for killing people. Thank you guys for watching. That was 10 terrifying creatures the Bible tried to warn us about. Which one of these would you least want to take on in a fight? Let me know. I've been Woody, and you've been amazing. Join us next time for more lists and scary things.